Hi, everybody, and welcome once again to Oberon's Outlook on the Emotional Exchanges, which is my weekly forecast with tarot and a little bit of astrology to help you through your currents and undercurrents, your ups and downs on the emotional levels for each of you. So this is done for Friday, July 10th through Thursday, July 16th. And we organize this by going through the zodiac signs as arranged by their elemental association. So we go through the air signs and then the fire signs and the water signs and the earth signs. And we also give a word of the week. This could be considered a focus word or a thoughtful word or mantra or idea to keep in mind when you're trying to weather those emotional situations that you're going through. So let's get started right now. And we're going to start off as usual with our air signs. And air signs are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. So we're going to give them their word of the week. And their word of the week is confusion. So keep this in mind. These are possibly very heady times. We're in the final last days of Mercury retrograde. Did I mention that? Mercury retrograde's been coloring a lot of the emotional readings for weeks now, a couple weeks at least. So yes, confusion will seem to be in the air a little bit. So keep that in mind. Try to remember that all of us are dealing with that. You air signs may be particularly skilled at trying to peer through some of that confusion. So maybe you can aid others. Now, wouldn't that be nice? So we're going to go ahead and do our reading now. And if you like this reading, please go ahead and like us, leave a comment, subscribe, etc., share, all of that. We hope you do like it. So, our three cards. We have the Four of Cups upright. We have the Sun reversed. And then we have the Prince of Wands, and that one's upright. So what is this reading about here? Well, in this week ahead, I'm thinking that the Four of Cups really we're thinking about all these things that are going on around us, and maybe we're contemplating what our moves should be, what our choices actually are, and we're confused, the word of the week, but maybe we have some things to help us through that, and one of those is that ability to contemplate, to really consider what our choices are and try to make the best decision possible. We're going to need that energy because the Sun reverse says there's certain information you may need to inform your decision, and it may be really hard to find. The Sun reverse could indicate that maybe if there isn't actual efforts being made to hide the information from you, it's also about your inability to find it, to open that book, to see the illuminated page, as it were. Or it could just mean, too, that in reference to the Four of Cups, maybe we really are going to be waiting to make that decision, because that's implied in the Four of Cups, and that maybe there's just this thing about really waiting until we do find out the information we need to have there. So we're just going to kind of go with saying we want to end that confusion and really apply ourselves. And maybe along with this is that new attitude that's implied here by the Prince of Wands. The Prince of Wands is more like the Page of Wands. So I'm thinking that maybe if we persevere, maybe something is coming to us, a message and information that we're looking for. Evaluate carefully, but with our fire sign energies, with the Prince of Wands, those wiles there of its own. I'm thinking that actually waiting out the confusion is possibly a good thing. Don't be too emotionally embroiled in that, because I do see that there's this idea maybe that others around us are trying to move us along, and that could be this energy too, with the Prince of Wands. Hold your ground on this one. Really, seriously, consider what all your options are and make the best option for you. So we're going to move on now from our air signs. Put that over there. And we're moving to the fire signs. And fire signs are Aries. There we go. Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. They're dynamic. They tend to be magnanimous and filled with energy. They're cool peeps. I know that because my best friend is one of them, the Banshee. So they have a word of the week too. Their word of the week is passion. And that is so well placed with the fire signs, especially signs like Leo, but maybe any of them really. And I'm thinking we are using that energy of passion this week to understand and to move us through our realms of emotional engagement here. We need to be highly motivated to do the things that are going to make differences. So try to apply loving everything as passionately as possible in your applications with the emotional parts of your life this week. So I'm going to go ahead and give us a reading now. And although these readings are for Friday through Thursday, I do tend to put them out on YouTube on Thursday afternoons right around 3 o'clock. So if you want to get the skinny on what's going on, that's where you'll find it. And hopefully I get my notices right with Twitter and Facebook. And we're set for another week. You will have the valuable outlook. So we have our 3 cards. And these cards would be the Hierophant, upright, and then the 8 of Swords, and it's reversed. Let's get that there. And then the 7 of Coins or Discs or Pentacles, and this one is upright. So we're looking at those there. Okay, so the Hierophant. I don't know, fire signs. Maybe there's something going on in relationships. Maybe there's your feeling, I think, is that things need to resolve to a level of tradition. You're working through maybe the issues that say everything's got to kind of have a certain level of conformity to work right, that we have to sort of work with process and flow. And this is not necessarily a bad thing. But the 8 of Swords is here, and it's reversed, and it's also maybe saying, too, that maybe this sense of tradition is really being challenged because you're being cut away from that. You're having to strike out in a different direction, and that to some degree when I think about these cards, there's a relationship, because when the Eight of Swords is upright, it sort of represents a person who maybe is conforming and who isn't able to see certain things. But now these two look like they're playing against each other. Like there's this idea here that a part of what the challenge is for this week is sort of resolving to keep these things in a level of balance. And maybe that final clue shows up here with the Seven of Coins, the Seven of Discs, which is upright, because I think it's telling us that there's still some tending to go on here, and that really this is kind of like an eternal wrestling match or struggle of some sort, where it's sort of like a yin and yang thing going around and around, and that the forces that are implying tradition are always, in a way, being challenged by the forces that are saying, no, there's something else you need to notice and you need to work towards. And slow and steady would seem to be what is going to get it in this matter, which sort of sounds contradictory in a way. I admit that, especially also too when we look at our word of the week of passion. But maybe that passion has to be applied to the degree where you service both of these concepts, and that resolves with the tending, with the feeling like you still have a ways to go to really produce that product. It's not done yet. It's not baked, like Buffy would say about those cookies. So that's what I'm thinking I'm getting there, and I'm hoping that makes more sense to the fire signs. It just sounds like, to some degree, mostly, you are really going to have to kind of strike out and move away from where conformity lies. And maybe that's really the takeaway, is that when the time is right, you are moving ahead, and it may not be in that direction of tried and true. So that's what I think I have for our fire signs. And we're going to move on now to the water signs. Water signs. Water signs are Cancer and Scorpio and Pisces. And they're just built for the emotional exchanges, because a lot of their life seems to make them feel more informed throughout their customary day by its emotional qualities, the basis of what's going on there. So let's get to your word of the week. Pilgrimage. And I'm a little abstract because I'm noticing that one of my cameras is sort of tilted in the wrong way. It doesn't seem to be affecting the screen quality, but it's annoying me. I'm getting emotional about it. I want to take a pilgrimage. No. But the pilgrimage idea here could be that water signs need to retreat, need to have more of that sense of solitude, and or questing towards some spirit-held message or reason to exist, or reason to find your goals. What does Spirit want us to find? Maybe we have to take that pilgrimage to find that. So think about this next week, because maybe it's going to be important. And we'll have those readings right away here. So we have the Six of Coins, the Six of Discs upright. We have the Star upright. And then we have the Queen of Cups upright. So these cards are kind of interesting for that water personality kind of person, perhaps. I'm glad that those are upright, some of them, the two of them are. So with the Six of Coins, I guess I get the feeling that we're going to be really, well, with both of these, there's some level of magnanimousness. There's a level of inspiration. There's a level of good feeling coming to the water signs. And maybe some of the water signs, I won't say this for all of them, but maybe some of the water signs are really at their best when they can be that person, when they can be generous and gracious and giving, when they can reveal more. Maybe this is what the pilgrimage will teach you, is that it really is about giving more. It's not about just yourself. And so if water signs are dealing with those issues, they will be served this week by all those little things that are pointing them in that direction. And two, with some of our water signs, there's just this idea here too that it's a little scary terrain for some of us because we're also feeling our own vulnerabilities at this time, very much so. And so we are challenged. That pilgrimage, I think, is gonna help improve us and help improve what we see here with needing to be magnanimous and generous and inspiring to others, because we need that ourselves too, water signs. And you need to either go into yourself and see that, or see that with what you do for people. And sometimes you just got to keep getting up and making the coffee for somebody else, or whatever that is, because your heart really heals itself when it knows it's helping others. At least for this week, that's what water signs should be thinking about. So that's what I have for you, water signs. And ooh, that one kind of made me feel all whooshy inside. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to move on to our earth signs now. And I thank you once again for joining me. And don't forget our live streams. I have the schedule down there near the bottom of the screen below the camera. And you can see that we're on Thursday nights and Sunday nights Eastern Standard Time. And I do hope you'll check out our live streams and also some of our other content. We plan on doing much more in the future. We're nearly at that point of full blown, so it's kind of exciting. So anyways, with the earth signs, these signs are Taurus and Virgo and Capricorn. And they're kind of the rock steadies. They're pretty solid, and they're not necessarily given to emotional highs and lows. They're kind of steady, or that kind of thing. They may embody emotionality more in their body, and that's something they should watch out for too. But at any rate, they do have a word of the week, and the word of the week is exchange. Where have I heard that word? Emotional exchanges. So excuse me. I think that with the earth signs, this too is a sign about being magnanimous and being open to giving of yourself. And it may just be because it's not exactly the same spiritual charge. It maybe is just because you're going to feel you need to do that. You're going to need that from just some levels of physicality, that your emphasis may be on what is material this week. Maybe we're going into more situations where people are going to feel a sting economically, that kind of thing. So watch for that, and be willing to be cooperative in exchange, and maybe find ways to share with what you have so that others will share what they have. Hey, the economy is really changing on us, so who knows what's going on with that. So now I'm going on to the reading for the earth signs. And we have our 3 cards. We have the upright 6 of Wands. It's like I'm working with a mirror here. And then we have the reversed Empress. Pretty card. And then finally we have an upright Ace of Wands. A lot of energy with that. So for earth signs, keeping in mind that idea about exchanges and things, the 6 of Wands maybe is a caution that for earth signs this week, there is maybe a little bit of a struggle going on in terms of winning. It may relate to family dynamics, but I'm thinking it's more likely about things going on in your career, things like that. So maybe that there's not really a victory for you in terms of whatever that is. It may be that it's not really a loss, but maybe something you were expecting to happen, a change in working conditions, a change in home conditions. You're not exactly moving ahead there. It's not necessarily moving backwards. I don't see that, because I still see that the energy to create some change or productivity is still here. Well, it's also, okay, I'm going to have to go back and reverse this. This actually does tell us, I was reading them reversed. Okay, I apologize. The Six of Wands does tell us that maybe there is something beneficent going on at work, but there is another energy, or it could be the home life. There is another energy that is saying there's some stagnation. So I see a push-pull kind of thing here too, for earth signs, that maybe there are things that are trying to lead you towards a completion, and then with that completion is sort of like reward, or sort of like, peace after war. I don't like that analogy, but that kind of thing, like sort of like something is better after the struggle is over. And the struggle is always about winning or who's in charge. But with the Empress, maybe that's being challenged a little bit, saying that maybe a little bit of this is accepting partial or shared victories, that production or good things happen at a different pace now, because maybe there has to be more cooperation, and maybe there has to also be working with new leadership. The Ace of Wands upright is fiery, but is also a beginning. Maybe the status quo is changing somewhere. What was our word of the week? It was exchange. Well, maybe this exchange is really less about spiritual and less about giving what is due. I mean, and I know personally somebody who's not an earth sign, but they have a good amount of earth in their chart, and there is some stuff going on in their status quo at their work situation that's very interesting. So I can sort of see that. There's a push-pull. I sort of see like people are saying, well, we need you to do this, but we want to create this other set of situations too. And strong leadership may be needed to bring that through. If this applies to you, maybe you'll understand that it could also be about other situations too that are more likely to do less with work, because there's nothing clearly talking about the material things going on here, but some of that is there in terms of enterprise or learning experiences, which could be implied by that too. So I'm just thinking that we should be looking for the opportunities, and we should be considering that not everything changes at the same rate, but sometimes a new perspective, maybe it's not a new boss, but maybe it's a new perspective that comes through, will really engage us and maybe make the emotional ups and downs a little bit, more able to deal with that. So I think that's what we got for you guys, and we're going to just let it go with that. I'm going to return to the big camera here and say thank you everybody for coming to the emotional exchanges. I hope you liked, I hope you share, I hope you subscribe to see when they come out. And as always, may your star be at peace.